Spending money consciously is part of a healthy relationship with money, but you don't want to just blow it. You want to spend money on things that bring you value, joy, and fulfillment. And sometimes you think that's going to happen, but it doesn't work out the way you expected. So I asked some of my women entrepreneur friends and colleagues, what's one of the worst purchases you've ever made? These stories will help you learn from other people's mistakes, make better decisions moving forward, build wealth faster, and get more joy and fulfillment from what you do choose to spend money on. I'll share mine at the end, so tap the like button and let's hear what they have to say.
The worst purchase was a course I never logged on to. Cheap isn't always smart if I don't solve a problem when I'm using it. A bargain is still a bargain if it only collects dust. I'm not quite sure. But when you buy something and don't actually use it, how can it have any value to you? It just doesn't.
Honestly, for me, something that I regret in spending money is anything that I don't use. And because I'm very clear about what the resale value of things is, and whether that's clothes or cars or houses or whatever it is I'm putting money into, like I am very aware, like, is this thing going to give me the felt experience that I want it to? And is it going to do that regularly? Because I don't like to spend money on things that sit there and don't get used that I end up getting rid of, because I keep things pretty clear. I move things out pretty quickly. So I don't like to add to the clutter at all. And when I do, I'm like, why did I do that exactly? So I wouldn't say it's a specific thing, but sometimes it's just those purchases where I didn't really think through, like, how does this thing fit in my life? And how does it fit in my life on a regular basis? Or just being really clear with the fact that it's not going to fit in my life on a regular basis, but I'm okay with that. And I'm going to make the purchase anyway.
It actually happened recently, and it was a huge learning curve. I invested in a PR package with a company that was supposed to help me get PR for my book that just got published this year in February, Into the Light, Becoming My Own Hero. They never delivered on this purchase, and I kept communicating with them, and they kept giving me the runaround, and it was really disheartening, and it ruined that relationship to where I ended up doing chargebacks. I feel like that was the worst purchase, and it was so weird how a company could sell you something but then not deliver it, and then every time you confront them about that, somehow you were put into the category of a mean girl, which kind of made you feel silenced as far as confronting them, or you were gaslit. It was just very interesting. Now I know better, how to determine whether to work with a company or not, and to ask more questions.
It was paying for ads before dialing in my message, which was like pouring money down the drain. Personally, it was making impulsive purchases like clothes or exercise equipment that just takes up space and gathers dust. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, as they say.
One of the worst purchases I've ever made was back in my 20s when I was in one of those rooms where they were selling the real estate riches, and we maxed out all of our credit cards. I think we held the record to that day. We split it up over 7 credit cards to invest in real estate training. And that real estate training was absolutely dangerous and really taught us the wrong way to invest in real estate, which caused us to lose everything. So I would say that is probably the worst purchase I have ever made in my life.
Oh, yeah. One of the worst purchases that I've ever made was this $5,000 course. This must have been, circa 2021 when the courses were running rampant over after COVID and everything. And so it was this $5,000 course. It was lifetime access, coaching, all the things, yada, yada. And it was horrible. And there wasn't, they decided to close it down a couple months later. And that has left a really bad taste in my mouth.
One of the worst purchases I made was my first property. My husband and I were 19 and 20, or maybe we were 20 and 20. We got married when we were 19 and 20. And we had some best friends that we hung out with, and we're all young, and we found this property. I think it was maybe $50,000 that we bought it. We bought this property. It was back in 1985 or something. And we bought this property. Gosh, that's a lot of money looking back on it. I hope that's not what we paid for it. But yeah, we went and we bought this property and we're going to split it with them. We got this partnership. We had no partnership agreement whatsoever. We just liked each other. That was the first mistake. We didn't buy it by location. We thought it was close. It was close to an army, an army fort. And so we thought that was good location. We could rent it out. But what we failed to know is that the backyard was the train tracks, and the train came by like 7-8 times a day. So it was a nightmare. And then we moved out of the state and left it for our partners to handle. And it just spiraled. It was circling the drain before it even got started, right? And so I just was too young. I was too naive. I already had a lot of experience because both sides of my family, my dad's side and my mom's side, and my parents are all real estate investors. You would have thought that I had got it, but nope. When you do your first one, it's a little bit different. So that was my first deal, and it was my worst deal.
The thing that most comes to mind is that piece of land in North Carolina, because it did not feed me, either externally or internally. Yes, it was a beautiful piece of property, but there was nothing else behind it. It was an emotional decision, and it didn't pay off.
The worst purchases for me tend to be the little things that are on impulse. I value things that are a little more expensive, and I'm so not a spontaneous person. So I really take my time making decisions, especially around money. But when I don't, and when I make impulse decisions, and it tends to be the little things, and then I feel like I've just blown small amounts of money here and there that add up, but it kind of niggles at me, and it doesn't feel good. So when I'm not grounded and I just purchase things, that feels like a waste most of the time.
Once upon a time, we were talked into leasing an SUV that my husband wanted, and we ended up buying that very same car when the lease was up anyway, the same physical car, even not in the same model, but the actual one. So we spent so much more money on that than we needed to spend. And so a big lesson learned about, trust again, what your instincts tell you, and don't make purchases just because people push you into them or because you feel like you're missing out on something.
Oh, I know what it was. I think one of the worst purchases was actually a timeshare. We got sucked in. We went over to the, you get the freebie stuff, and then they try to sell you on stuff, and they sell it from a standpoint of it's going to be a great investment and this and that, and you're going to save money on vacations. And in reality, yeah, we've had some good vacations and we've stayed at nice places, but it just definitely was not something that I think was one of the better things that we spent money on.
Okay, one of the worst purchases I ever made were really expensive shoes with red bottoms. They're not comfortable just because everyone says they're the thing. And that's when I realized I gotta stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. I mean, who are the Joneses anyway? And my feet clearly don't fit in the same shoes that the Joneses fit into. So why am I buying them? Bad decision.
One of the worst purchases that I've made, it's not a purchase, it's all the little purchases that I make. I am very much, as a default, I'm very much a shopper. I'm a spender. I'm an impulse kind of gal. And it's almost the death by 1,000 paper cuts idea. Like, I can go to the mall and end up dropping $500 without even batting an eyelash, and on things that I really don't need. Like, a new pair of shoes, or I like doing puzzles. Oh my gosh, I bought a bunch of puzzles when I have shelves of them already waiting to be done. So it's not even a major purchase. I've never made a big purchase that I regret, but just all those little teeny ones that add up over time, and they add up at the end of the month. And then I end up with things where I'm like, oh, did I really need to buy this? It was fun in the moment, it was impulsive, but it's not necessarily adding value on the back end, even from an enjoyment perspective. So that would be probably the worst types of purchases that I make.
Wow, I so appreciate the courage and authenticity these amazing women brought in sharing their experiences. Sharing about purchases that didn't go the way you hoped or expected can feel frustrating or embarrassing. So if you got value from everyone sharing so openly, make sure to tap the like button and check out the links in the description to connect with all of the incredible women in this video. Plus, you can get some great free resources like a masterclass on 3 keys to regain your power, CIA spy secrets to making goals work for you, and even the Happy Low Back, Healthy Pelvic Floor Goodie Bundle. For me, one of the worst purchases I've ever made was ordering some expensive shoes online that were touted as looking professional but being super comfortable. I had high hopes because the ordering process was great and I could return the shoes and get a refund if they didn't fit right. Well, after trying on several pairs in different sizes, the best I could do was land on the pair that was the least painful. Definitely not comfortable. In fact, I can only wear them for about 5 minutes before I just have to take them off. And when I tried to return one of the pairs that didn't fit, I went round and round and round with the customer service team and was never actually able to receive the refund that I was promised. So I ended up paying over $400 for a pair of shoes that I never wear. If I wanted to pay $400 for some super uncomfortable heels, I would have bought some fancy designer shoes like Manolo Blahnik or something. Not the end of the world, but I'm definitely not going to order from that company again. Now, on a more uplifting note, click here to check out our next video on what are you happy to spend money on and why.